Today's guest is a photographer, a director, a videographer, and most importantly, someone I look up to from a visual and creative concept perspective, introducing the one and only Keaton Greene. Keaton, thank you for joining us on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I appreciate that kind words. I feel like I look up to you from like a business perspective. You know?
That's good. That's hopefully we can balance each other out in that aspect too.
Because how old are you?
25.
Yeah, so like you have your own like production company, like studio. That's sick. I feel like most people 25 are like just hitting their stride at their first job and like still trying to figure out, at least I was like, I mean, I'm 27, so similar, but still trying to figure out like what you want to do and stuff. So I feel like having that figured out at your age is crazy.
Yeah, I think that was kind of always the goal for me. So I don't want to say like I'm surprised that I like have a business. I always wanted a business. Having it in the creative field is just kind of something unique to me a little bit as well.
Yeah.
And something that, I don't know, I always think back and I'm like, I really appreciate this industry. And like, I fell in love with this industry through a camera. And now the reality of things that are like, my life's just a lot different now.
Yeah.
So,
because you're shooting less and stuff these days, probably, huh? More just
shooting less, editing a lot less. And you had mentioned like before we started the podcast, we were just bullshitting around. You're like, I think this is the year I'm not going to edit. Like last year was the year where I didn't edit. Like it was crazy. And I actually just edited a few projects and I was like super pumped. I was like, I still got it. I actually feel like I still got it.
Gotta knock off the rust. I hope I don't still got it at the end of the year. But there's just so many talented people. Like it's hard to get like, if you want to be the best at something, in my opinion, it's hard to do that in multiple ways. Cause like if all I do is edit, then someone's going to be like a better director than me. Or if all I do is do photography, then I think someone will be a better editor than me. So I feel like I'm trying to like find one or maybe two things and just like become obsessed with that and just like really, really lock in on that.
I think that's the name of the game, dude. Like you have to know what your strengths are and play to those.
Yeah. That's
where I was with like editing. I hit like a crossroads and I could do edits for our clients, but I couldn't like do them to the really, really, really high level that Devin or Caitlin can do. So
yeah, and some people are just so talented with that and like love editing. I just like to be outside and like in the world.
Yeah.
You know? So like that's why I left like corporate America, is because it just got so like strenuous, like sitting behind a computer. Like every day is so monotonous, dude. Like I feel so bad for some of my friends who you can tell like hate it, but they kind of just like give into it.
Yeah.
Because it's so hard to like actively fight against corporate life. Because like you wake up, start work at 9, then maybe you take like a 30-hour lunch break and you're back to it. And then like by the time you're done, it's like 6. Then you like eat dinner. And if you're going to work out, then you're talking like 7:30.
Yeah.
And then at that point, it's like, what are you going to do from like 7:30 to 10? And that was like my life for like years. And I just got so tired of it.
Mm-hmm. And I forget, where were you? And if you want to move that mic up a little bit closer.
Yeah, got you.
Where were you working? I remember it was a company that hold on. I remember it was a company that was like, damn, that's a freaking sick company.
Yeah, it's basically Piper Jaffray was like our main competitor.
Okay.
Which is Piper Jaffray's like the biggest investment bank in Minnesota.
Uh-huh.
And I worked at R.W. Baird, which was like basically the same size. Like we were working on the same deals and mergers and acquisitions in finance, which is essentially like a Wall Street function.
Yeah.
Like if you ever watch a lot of movies that are trying to show a character as like super like snobby and like a rich kid, like they grew up with a bunch of money, like usually if they just graduate college, like that's like the job they get, like on Wall Street. So
that's fun.
Yeah, it was crazy.
So you were there. I feel like that doesn't fit your vibe.
No, I just like, I mean, I'm really about my business. And so I think I like hustled crazy to get in, because I went to Augsburg, which is like, I think there was one other person who had that similar job as I wanted. And like most of the time, if you want to go into that industry, it's like there's feeder schools, like with a lot of careers. So like if you go to Indiana, then you can go work at Baird. Or if you go to like, I don't know, like Harvard, well, if you go to Harvard, you can work a lot of them. But like a lot of banks will have specific like schools that they like pick from. And then 95% of the people who get a job will have had an internship. And I didn't have an internship. So I was like like I got a free internship my junior summer. And then I worked at night, basically. So it was like a grind. And I called like so many people, just like cold calling, trying to like figure out how I could get in. Because, dude, you make so much money out of school. I was like, I have to have that. You know?
Yeah.
And then I got it and it sucked.
Yeah. I feel like that's like, It's like the golden handcuffs that you kind of already alluded to, you know, it's
Yeah.
like you think you're like in this great position and you went to this specific school and you feel so honored because they're going to set you up with this specific company and you're going to make good money.
You like tell people you work there, like, oh, that's dope. Like, how is it? Yeah, you make a lot of money. And so like when you're not working, you have money to spend. But like, at least for me, I was working like 70 to 80 hours a week.
That's freaking crazy.
Which is like, when you say it, like, okay, cool, yeah, you worked a lot. But like, that was literally me working like 9 a.m. to like 3 in the morning, Monday through Friday. Saturdays I had off. And then Sundays would be like 9 a.m. to like 5.
And you started off the podcast by saying you like to be out and about.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. And so that was just like, but like once you get into it, it's like, cool, okay, you get your first bonus and you get a check for a bunch of money in your account. Like that's tight. And then after that, it's like, all right, now what? And then you like do that again. And like the reason a lot of people stay is because like you'll get your bonus awarded to you. Like they tell you how much you're going to get in like December. And then you get the money in your account in like, I think it's like February or March or something. And then at that point, you're like, damn, I'm already like 7 months out from my next bonus. Like,
yeah.
It's like, should I just like stick it out for 8 more months? And like, you just keep on that same like process, you know? And I think you can retire hella early. Like if I didn't have like creative interests or like interest in like starting my own business, like being an entrepreneur, I probably would have just like stuck it out for 10 years. And then you can just get a job where you're working like truly like 9 to 5, make like $250 a year and just like call it out. And just like coast out. But I don't know, dude. It's
you got to put in the grunt work.
You're like trading your life for money at that point. And like how much you really want to trade. You're just like literally your life for money. And I was just like, I couldn't do it after a while. But it was a great experience. Like you get to work with like C-suite executives every day. Like you're working like directly with the CFO to figure out like what the valuation of the company should be. You're like fielding diligence questions from potential buyers and like whatever. But yeah, it was definitely, it's so much different than like what I do now. I always look back and I'm like, dude, how could I could never do that again.
And do you think that gives you perspective though? Like now where you're at, you're like, wow, this is so much
I feel like
better.
I don't even work anymore. Like literally, I feel like sometimes, like the other day I was, my girlfriend and I went to go work out. My dog had just got picked up for daycare. And it was like 7 p.m. We're going to board her because we're coming here. And my flight was like the next day in the morning. It was like 6 p.m. and my girlfriend had just left and I was just like cranking on a deck for this thing I'm applying to. And it's like super creative and InDesign, whatever. And it was like super fun. And I just kept doing it and she got back and she was like, why are you still working on that? Like you need to pack and do all this stuff. And I was like, oh yeah, like I'm actually like, I'm working still technically, but it's just like fun to me.
Yeah.
Because I've gone through like work, like true work that just like sucks. And now that I get to do stuff that's fun, like taking pictures to me is just, it's definitely like, it's just way different. It doesn't feel like work to me.
Yeah. And like you say, like you're working on a deck, like we've all been in a situation where you're working on a deck, working on an edit and like 5 hours goes by and you look up, you're like, what just happened? You know? And that's a great feeling, especially like if you're on the clock getting paid hourly or something like that.
You're like, you're in the flow too, you know, like there's times where you'll be in the flow, I guess, in like a true like 9 to 5, but it's not the same. You're not like enjoying it. You're kind of just like doing something so that you can be done faster, I guess, in a way. Versus like this, like I feel like I have a lot more like ownership of stuff because no one's like telling you, oh, you need to make this look this way or you need to make it like. Usually when you turn something in, like your boss will be like, oh yeah, well we want to change this, this, and this, and then you're just like, all right, cool. Yeah. But now when you are your own boss, you're kind of like you have to be also that level of like sanity check to make sure like is everything spelled right, is everything like is all the spacing good, like I don't know, just stuff like that. But maybe I'm also a perfectionist in that way.
Well, you have to pay attention to detail a little bit more. I mean, like the amount of times I've caught a spelling error on like a video before I exported it, it's like crazy. And now I don't have to do that, so it feels great.
Yeah.
But so tell me about that. Like now you're your own boss. How long have you been full time? Tell me about that process. What helped you get there?
Yeah, so my last day is on January 12th. And that's another reason why I thought it'd be so fun to do the podcast, because this is such like a pivotal time in my like creative career, and that I've been like working at a company called Hims and Hers on their finance team, just doing like.
That's what I remember.
Yeah. So I was working with them for like 2 years after I left the job on like my finance job in Chicago. Moved to LA because it was warm. Like I grew up here, lived in Chicago. It was like so cold. So my girlfriend was like, let's move somewhere warm. So I was like, all right, well, I'm down. Like let's try it. So we moved to LA, and I didn't really move to be a creative. Like a lot of people move to LA so that because they're chasing like their creative dreams. But I was more just like just getting back to like being creative. Like my girlfriend and I had started a YouTube channel just like for fun, whatever. And then I started meeting people in LA who I like looked up to creatively, but also realized like, oh, I think like my stuff could get to the level where I could actually do this like professionally. And so then at that point I started mostly with photography. I was like, okay, well, let me see how I can start like building on my portfolio and like trying to shoot for brands and stuff. And like my superpower was that I didn't need money because I already had a job. So like a lot of creatives, as you probably know, like you don't have money, but you have time. But like in this space, like so many things cost money, especially if you want to like do it at a really high level.
That's
it costs a lot of money. And so you kind of have to like bet on yourself in a way. And like, I was just hitting up brands like, yo, I'll shoot for you. I don't need to get paid, like whatever. And just trying to like, so that I could say like, oh, I shot for this brand and this brand, whatever. But yeah, so I started doing that more just like casually on the weekends and stuff. And then I'd say like a year ago, I started learning more about like what commercial directing and like how commercials actually get made. Cause I've seen a lot of stuff like growing up that I thought was really dope. But I didn't realize there was like hundreds of thousands of dollars and like a whole 50-person crew and stuff like going into some of this stuff. Like I thought
feel like no one did, dude.
Yeah.
You grow up, you're so numb to commercials, you see them the whole time. You don't even realize. I didn't even realize that was an industry till I was literally in it.
Yeah, like, or even like branded content. Like you see like, oh, like North Face has like super cool like mini docs and like, oh, I used to like watch those just because I loved like high quality video stuff, but I didn't realize it was like a whole crew and like people are getting like paid for that.
Yeah.
Like crazy. Maybe it was like ignorance. I don't know. But I think I just realized like that was really interesting. And so my brother went to USC. And so I started learning about from more of like a traditional education perspective, like through him, like how things are usually done. And then I just started like, because I had saved up some money, I was like, okay, let me just start investing and like seeing what I can make. Cause before I was like shooting stuff myself, like doing as much as I could, but you can only do so much by yourself, you know? And so I started realizing that and I was like, okay, let me just start like paying, cause my brother's friends are still in school. So if I pay them like a couple $100s for a day rate, or they also are trying to build out their like portfolio. So like if I come up with a cool concept, produce everything, whatever, then like they'll come onto my projects and then we can all just kind of like build our portfolios together.
So how does this tie into your brother being at USC? Your brother is like a creative. He's like a filmmaker or something?
He went to school as a screenwriter. Okay. He wants to act, but he also is a writer. And so that helped me because he could point me to like, oh, one of my friends is a DP. He's like super nice, but he's still in college. So like, he's still trying to like get his name out there and stuff. And so I could like work with people who are like punching above their weight creatively that don't necessarily have rates to like reflect that. Like similar to me, I think like I'm still doing a lot of stuff that I think like I could be doing like more creative stuff, like working on bigger projects with like bigger budgets and like have more responsibility. But you have to prove that you can do that and like kind of like build yourself up to those things. Not that I'm not ready, but more like proving it to other people before they like start giving you budgets. And so that's kind of like, I found other people who are at my like level, call it, like just kind of getting started, but also like very talented. And so I kind of just like started working with them on some projects and like that really helped. Because again, like I could only do so much myself.
Yeah. I think that's like a interesting perspective. Cause I feel like that is like, when I think of you, I think of that as your perspective of like growing like intentionally and being like very smart about like, not just taking a project to take it, but like, am I qualified? Am I like ready for this? Like, seems like you're very honest with yourself in that sense.
Yeah, I think a lot of times, I don't know, I feel like you don't get that many chances. Maybe that's just like me putting pressure on myself, but also like, for example, like I was working on this like mini like commercial branding content type thing. It'd be like a minute long. And we found this like horseback rider who was like, one of the first black horseback riders to reach like the national like US team. And she was like trying to put together a documentary, and I was talking to the producer and she's like, oh, would you be interested in directing that? And I was like, I don't think I'm ready, to be honest. Like I don't think I could put together something that I would feel really good about, because I just don't feel like I have the experience. Like I could do it, but I don't think it would be like as good as I would want it to be. Like there'd be too many learnings that I would look back and be like, damn, like I should have waited, you know? Because then, I don't know, I just feel like there's some things that I feel are like very squarely in my wheelhouse that I know I could execute. And then there's other things that I might be like, like I could try it, but I don't know if I would be the best person to do it, you know?
That's so funny you say that, because like for me, I'm like so far on the other side of things, like it borderline is like bad too.
Yeah.
Like I feel like if we like could somehow combine and meet somewhere in the middle, that'd be good. Because a lot of times I'll say yes and figure it out later.
That's good too, for sure. Because you kind of have, sometimes you have to do that, I feel like, to grow and like make yourself sit in those uncomfortable positions. Like, damn, like, I don't know.
But sometimes you just like, you have to like eat your words, or you're like, oh gosh, you know, like how are we going to make this work, you know? And I think I've been caught in a lot of situations like that where like, I'm just like, yes, let's do it. And then like early on, I'm like, oh shit, what's going on here?
I mean, I've definitely found myself in those positions too. Like I remember like a couple of times I do a lot of work with Spotify, and like sometimes I'll be on set and I'll like have my film camera. I have a Bolex Rex 5, which shoots like 16mm film. And I've probably put like 5 or 6 rolls through it. So by no means am I like an expert, but I like know enough. And so like I'll sometimes pull those out on shoots, and then I'll be sitting there like in front of talent, and I'll be like asking them to do stuff. And after I get the shot, I'm like, damn, I really hope I didn't fuck anything up. Like when I was loading the camera, because there's so much that can go wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always like,
especially with film, because you're so into film. Like, I was making your intro today, and I had a line in there. I was like, Keaton actually eats film for breakfast.
Yeah,
like,
dude, if I could, I would. I love film. That's kind of like what got me back into photography, actually. Because like when I was in high school, I used to do like senior portraits and stuff, and just like general photography. And I kind of got bored of it. I think it was because like the iPhone introduced so many people becoming like photographers, and it makes everything so much easier. Like you can create great images on an iPhone. Mm-hmm. And so I just like kind of got bored with that process of just like the instant feedback. I think I really love like the delayed feedback and like the unknown aspects of it.
I'm so bored of photos on iPhone. Like besides Instagram stories, like I do not like iPhone.
Dude, but they're so good though. Like you can take like such good quality. Like my girlfriend has like the iPhone like 14 or whatever the newest one is. Mm-hmm. We'll be sitting in my bedroom with like pitch black, like the TV will be on, and she'll take a picture and it'll look like perfectly lit. And I'm like, dude, how? Like I don't even understand how that works, but yeah.
It's like HDR, long exposure,
3
all this
cameras, like But yeah, film is like what got me back into photography, because my brother started shooting film once he moved to LA, just like for fun. I was like, oh, interesting. And I think just the process of like shooting something, not seeing it, and then getting it back, like every time I get film back, it's like the best thing ever. Yeah. It's like the best experience, especially from like a trip. Like I went to Mexico City recently and I shot like 5 rolls there of like slide like positive film. And that was like, when I got those back, I was like, dude, it's the best thing ever.
Okay. So like for me, I used to shoot a lot of film. Now I load up a roll of film and I'm like, what is like the purpose of what I'm shooting? Like, do you ever run into that? Like I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to London with a roll of film and I'm probably just going to shoot like 36 photos of buildings.
Yeah.
And it's like, what am I going to do with those? I guess what's the point, you know?
I think I've had to start, especially as I've started working more as like a professional, like getting actual like paid jobs, I've had to find time to be creative for fun and like separate it from like work, because I would find myself there too, like, oh, well, what's like the point? Like, it's not going to go to my portfolio. Like, why am I doing it? But I think I don't know. It's just like to create for creative sake, at least to me. Yeah. And then sometimes like for the Mexico City one, I'm like, damn, like maybe I could make like a whole, like in 24, I want to make a photo book. Maybe it'd come out in 25 or something. Yeah. Like all film photos that I don't post on Instagram, because I think that would be really cool to me, of just like unseen photos that like, because once I don't post for a while, I always feel like stressed, kind of like, damn, I haven't posted. Like, am I not doing enough? Or like, do I like need to like, am I being seen, whatever? But I think having a bunch of images that just don't live online is like really appealing to me.
That is kind of cool. It's like the artist that has a bunch of songs that they haven't released, you know? Yeah. Everyone wants to hear them. Everyone
but you could buy them though, you know? Like if Kanye had, or not, maybe Kanye, like Kendrick had an album that was just like not on any of the streaming services, but you had to buy a physical copy of it. Like I bet you so many people would buy that instantly. And then of course it would get leaked and whatever, but like.
But it's like for the people, you know?
Yeah.
It's like those photos are like for the people, for out of your 9,000 followers, like the people that care, that want to buy one and have one on their coffee table and flip through it. Like, there might be 10 people, there might be 10,000 people that care, you know?
Like, do you ever print your photos?
I don't, but Zach does. He's got that printer over there and he's always printing. I actually thought of that. Maybe it was with you when we met the first time, but I was like, I want to start printing out photos and just put them in like a photo book, like a good old fashioned photo book.
Yeah, dude.
And just start loading them in there.
I feel like there's something about physical now, at least to me, because everything is digital. Like everything's on a screen. So seeing anything like physically to me is like so rewarding, especially like with, like film, like you're seeing the film strip, like you can literally hold it and like touch it, or like a photo book, like you can feel it. Like I've been in a dark room a lot recently. Like you literally are leaving with like physical prints of your work. And I think there's something that I really like about that.
It means more.
Yeah.
I think it means more.
Yeah, I agree.
Like versus being in my photo album with 11,000 other photos. It's like in this book with like 500 photos.
Yeah. I don't know, but something about that. But yeah, I think I really want to do a photo book of like slide film only, just like positive film.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it looks so sick.
Yeah. Tell me about your work with Spotify then. I guess because I think we've talked about this, but I want to catch up on it because you're always doing stuff with them.
Yeah. So one of my friends, like right when I moved to LA, I was just, like I said, like building out my portfolio. So I was just like hitting up, because I didn't know a single person when I moved to LA. Like,
That's
my
so
and I
wild.
Just, like, well, I guess I knew my brother. So I knew my brother, my girlfriend and I, but I wanted to like build up my portfolio. So I was just like hitting people up on Instagram, like literally like random people who seemed to be like in and around the creative space, because I felt like they'd be more inclined to be like, sure, I'll like, but I didn't want to hit up like models necessarily. And so I was just like hitting people up. I hit up someone who's now my friend. His name is Josh. And I just shot with him like in his apartment, whatever. And I just like stayed in touch because I wanted to like also make friends, you know? I wasn't just trying to like take pictures and like dip. Like I'm trying to like meet people and just like make friends, like homies.
And that's hard.
Super
I think
hard.
that's hard because I feel like people don't know. Like I've even had people like come at me and like ask me to do things or something, and I'm like, is this person trying to be my friend? Like, like some people are in a position where like they don't want more people, you know, or they feel like they have their people.
Yeah,
you know?
they think that they like that you want something from them, or like you're trying to like gain something from them.
Yeah.
But at that point, like it was literally just like I was just trying to shoot them, and so I did that. He was working at Apple at the time, and so he wasn't even like in this. He'd like worked in the creative space before. He worked as a creative in a company, I guess, per se. But he worked at Apple, so he wasn't like hiring people necessarily for jobs. But then like I just like stayed in touch with them, whatever. And then like a year goes by, and then I was just like still in touch with them, and he hit me. He's like, "Yo, actually, I'm at like Spotify now. We need like a videographer to shoot this thing." And I was like, "Okay, dope." And so I like pulled up, shot it, and then like that went well. And then ever since we've just been like doing projects together. Because he works for their social media team. And so they like always need a bunch of content and stuff like that. And so then like I got introduced to him, and then I got introduced to like the creative agencies that work with Spotify, because like sometimes they'll do stuff direct like with Spotify, like photographer to Spotify, and then other times it'll be like photographer agency, like agency employs photographer to work with Spotify, you know. So there'll be like an agency in the middle. And so then I met them, and then now I've been doing work with them too. So I feel like everything in this industry is like so word of mouthy and like very like natural.
Yeah.
I remember like that was the hardest thing for me to swallow, like, because in corporate America, I feel like there's a process for everything. Really, like
there's a ladder.
Exactly. And so you can just look up at someone who did what you're trying to do and be like, okay, what'd you do? All right, bet. Like, let me just try to do the same thing, and then usually that will work. But I feel like all the creatives that I started meeting in LA, like I would ask them like, yo, what did you do to like get this job? Or like, how did you get to where you are? And they'd always like, give me some like random story. Like, oh, I met this person when I was 20, and then they moved here, and then they like started working, and then they did this. And then like 10 years later, they hit me for, it's like, it's not really like repeatable, you know, it's like all like one-off things. And so that's what I think makes it really hard, because there's no like path. Like everyone's path is so different.
And I feel like people get hung up on that, or like, well, you only get these opportunities because of this, that, and the other, you know? And like, sure, there might be some luck involved, but like a lot of it is those relationships. A lot of it is just being a human and just like meeting people and like saying the right things at the right time.
Or being in the right place at the right time.
Yeah,
it's also
literally.
like crazy too. Like I've definitely gotten projects where it's like I'm on set for something and then I like walk by someone who sees that I'm shooting something and they'll be like, oh, like, what are you doing here? And I was like, oh, well, I'm the photographer on set, whatever. And they're like, oh, well, we have this project that I'm doing and we need a photographer. Like, what are you doing this day? And then it's like, oh shit. Like, then you get other jobs that way, you know, and then it just kind of like snowballs.
That's crazy. Well, and I guess my question for you then is, so you've lived in Minnesota, you've lived in Chicago and LA, right? What, like, getting that Spotify deal, like, I'm like, that you're LA based, that guy happens to be LA based. Like, do you think that geographically, like where you're located, has an effect on kind of the level of projects you can get?
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's like being in San Francisco if you're in tech. Like, it's like you can just brush shoulders with someone who can like next week, like put you in position to do something crazy just because like but like we're here, you would never be able to do that necessarily, you know? And I think like even some of the projects that I get, it'll be like, hey, what are you doing? And like, what's today, like Thursday? Or like, or it's Wednesday. What are you doing on Friday? And then it'll be like, oh, whatever. Like I'm free. Like I can shoot. And it'll be like, oh, we're doing this like one time I shot like BTS for this music video for like Gunna and like SARS and like these other like massive artists. And it was literally like 2 days in advance. And like, if you're not there, then it's hard for you to like be in that, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, like so many things. I think everything, I'd say like 90% of the stuff that I'm on right now is like within the week. Like, hey, what are you doing within like the next 7 days? And so if I'm not there, then it becomes like a real challenge.
Well, and yeah, I think that's why you got to jump on stuff too. Like I think a lot of creatives are like they move kind of slow and like, obviously you're finding out like if you can move fast, people appreciate that. And sometimes you'll get those last minute calls just because they know you move fast versus like every time I text this guy, it's like a 3 days till he responds. And it's like, I'm not going to hit him up if I have a shoot next week.
Yeah.
So
makes it tough.
Yeah. You got to like hit the iron while it's hot. I don't, what's the analogy? It's like,
I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of creatives also too don't do like the business work, you know, because I think there's so much. Like at the end of the day, you are like running a business, whether you like have employees or like running for yourself, like as a photographer, as a director, as whatever, like a freelance creative, you're like running a business for yourself. And I feel like a lot of times people just like neglect the business aspect. Like, what are you doing to like generate leads for your business for like the next, like who's your next client going to be? Like who's your next customer? Like a lot of homies that I know, when they're not shooting, they're kind of just like chilling, which to me is like crazy because I'm like the exact opposite. Like I'm always like sending emails. I'm always just like putting like seeds out there because you never know. Like you never know when someone's going to like double back and be like, oh, like I remember you sent me that email. I didn't have time to respond, but like now we have an opportunity. And it's like, dude, that's crazy.
Yeah, literally. And same thing with like creatives too. I think it's like, are you leaving every single customer with a smile on their face? Like sometimes they're like, that's not my process, or like, I don't know, I just want to get this project done. I'm like sick of this, or whatever it may be. And like, they want to make it their way when it's like, sometimes you got to make it the client's way. So.
Yeah, dude. I mean, that's the interesting thing about commercial too. Like I'm not doing like big commercials yet. But like even the stuff that I'm on, like on social, like a lot of stuff that I've been doing is like social media stuff. It's like, obviously you want to be creative, but at the end of the day, like it's not even for you. Like you're doing this, like they're paying you to do a job and you want to do the job to the best of your ability, but also like make sure it's like what they want. You know?
Well, they're paying you to execute on their vision.
Exactly. Like, which sometimes can be a challenge as an artist. Cause sometimes I'm like, dude, like this could be so fire if you just did this, this, and this, but it's like, okay, they don't want that. Like, this is not like one of the things that I've run into a lot is like, I want to build out a commercial reel, and commercial reels are horizontal, like 16 by 9. And all the stuff that I'm doing for socials, like a lot of it is like 9 by 16, like native to your phone. And so I'm like, damn, like this could be so much cooler if you just shot it horizontal. But then I have to remind myself, like, they don't care about that. Like this is going on social only. Like they don't need it to be horizontal. So I always like have to remind myself of that stuff. Like this isn't necessarily for me, but then I always try to like figure out ways that I can make it like the best for both of us, you know? Like sometimes they'll say like, oh, let's do this, this, and this. I'll be like, okay, that's cool. Let's do all of that. But then what if we also did this and this? Because it's like something that I think would be really dope. Yeah. And I found a lot of success doing that and then showing them the stuff that I thought would be dope. And they're like, oh yeah, like you're right. Like that is super dope. And then they can trust you more, you know, and then they'll like lean on you more as a creative versus just like an execution person.
100%. 100%. I think that's where you have to do what you were saying earlier and go in and like create something and prove to that you can do that and that you can like sell that. Like last night we were in the studio till like 11 making this like cinematic brand video for Bloom, and I was like in it and starring in it, but like I plan on sending that to clients and being like, we can make this. Like, we can do this and like we can execute and sell this kind of vision. And if they love it that much, they're just going to give you the reins and tell you to roll with it.
Which is the best.
Yeah.
That's like my favorite thing for sure is when they're like, just do whatever you think would be dope. And then let's just run with that. Because then I think that always, even like I got I want to start getting more tattoos, but I want to just go to the tattoo artist. They have to be dope for sure. Like I need to see like a proof of work, but I want to just go to them and be like, yo, just like make something fire.
Yeah.
And I think that way they'll have a lot of fun, but then it'll turn out better. Cause I know me personally, like when I'm in that environment, it always turns out better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, dude, I don't know. You got to balance it really. You got to balance it. But I also think, you got to find the right clients that trust you and your vision and stuff like that.
And job isn't like that. Like if I remember you said you did stuff with like Deloitte.
Mm-hmm.
Like you might not get like some clients are just like not the clients to be like super artsy, you know, like if you're doing something for an accounting firm, it's not like you're going to be like making a movie, you know? So I feel like also like I have to know, like you have to know when is the appropriate time for that.
Well, and that's what I tell like our team all the time. It's like, okay, I would love to pick and choose all our projects, and this half of projects is really fun and fills our bucket for creativity and filmmaking and stuff like that. And this half pays the bills and allows you guys to work here and get a salary. So like we got to do both of them. There's no way around it. And once everyone understands that, that's huge. And I've seen a lot of production companies they'll split it up in various ways. You know, it's like we do weddings and we do like really cool branded stuff, you know, and like their branded stuff's what fills their bucket. But everyone knows that they got to take a few Saturdays out of the year to go film and shoot a wedding, you know, and it's like, that's just the reality of it. And, you know, talking back to LA a little bit, like, you know, you'd hope that a city like LA would have, you know, enough work or be abundant enough to then, so you could kind of pick and choose your work, but then there's also so much competition and so many new kids coming in and out and stuff. It's
that's the thing that's crazy about LA. Like I'll come here and feel like I can actually like chill and like take a break. Like I kind of can. I'm always kind of like going a little bit, but in LA, it's like similar to New York in that way. I feel like everyone's like doing something. Everyone's a photographer. Everyone's a director. Like everyone's doing the same thing. So yeah, it can definitely be like scary.
You feel guilty if you're like taking a day off.
Yeah.
Like you feel like you're really falling behind the eight ball.
Because then you go on Instagram and you see like 10 people shooting crazy shit and you're like, dude, I'm like I need to go do something, you know? Like it can be really hard.
Especially and you can have that hustler mindset though.
Yeah.
Like you had mentioned like some of your friends, like if they're not shooting, they're just chilling.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, I can't do that either.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, some people are cool with that. And like if that makes you happy, like bro, more power to you, like for sure.
Yeah.
If you just want to like work on stuff that like makes sense for you, you don't want to like go super hard and like grind crazy, but you're like making enough money to like live the lifestyle that you want, like dude, more power to you.
That's true. I envy that aspect though, is what I envy about my fiance. She is a flight attendant and she just started being a flight attendant. And like me, she's like, oh, you can take like time off. Cause now she has like random Tuesdays and Wednesdays stuff off. She's like, just like go to work at like noon. Like you can do that. Like you create your own schedule. And I'm like, I can do that. But like, unlike her, like when she's not working, she's literally super not chilling. Working. Yeah. Like no one's going to call you. You are not needed. You are only needed when you're like on a plane and you're flying.
Yeah.
And like, it's kind of cool. Cause like when she's off, she is off. Like, zero guilt, off. Like sleep all day. Like you're not falling behind, nothing.
But like really do whatever you want. Yeah.
Yeah. For like me, I'm like, I just can't do that. It's like, I'd feel like this guilt if I just took like a week off.
Dude, even like every second, like, I don't know. I'm like that, like an obsessive person in a way. But yeah, every minute when I'm not doing something, like, damn, like what could I be doing? Or like next time I have a second, like what should I be doing? Like what could I work on? Like,
yeah, it's actually funny. A friend of mine, I feel like you're like this too. A friend of mine told me this the other day. They're like, you're self-analytical. And I kind of like thought of that and I was like, self-analytical, like it kind of sounds bad. Like I was like, kind of took it as an insult initially just based off like how it came off the tongue. But then I was like, I do like constantly analyze myself and like it's like a 1% better every day. It's like I'm not here to like just be stagnant. Yeah. And I feel like you're the same way.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I just know where I want to go, and I know I know that I can get there. And I think I was talking to my girlfriend about this the other day. Like, I feel like it's unfortunate because a lot of people don't necessarily get to experience like coming up with an idea or like a goal, and, like seeing it through and like what that euphoria feels like. And then truly know like, oh shit, like I can really do anything that I want. Like if you're willing to put in the work, like I truly think like you can do whatever.
Yeah.
And so once you experience that, you're like, damn, like I could be directing $1 million commercials, but you have to like do all the work to get there. So then I just am trying to like do that work faster so I can like get there faster, you know?
But the feeling of like knowing that you can do that, or like being like, like you said, seeing it through, like people sell themselves short, but if you're like, I can do this, I can direct like the next freaking crazy Jeep commercial or whatever it may be. Like if you can see that through and you can believe it, that's a really, really good feeling. Like that makes you really feel like you're on the right path and stuff.
I think that's also what's cool about being in LA or just like any big market in general is that you can see people doing it. Like I could run into someone, or like I've made friends with people who are directing like big commercial, like $200,000, $500,000 spots. And it's like, I'm like talking to them. Like, so like, it's just like a normal person, you know?
I'm not even one person away. I'm like, I'm here with you.
Yeah. And it's like, and I think it just like makes it feel more real and like attainable. And at that point, then it's like, okay, well, if he can do it, then I can do it. And then it's like, okay, well, how can I, like, what do I have to do to get there, basically?
Yeah, that's one thing I realized when I started kind of like, when I got into this industry, I met with a bunch of people. And like, I guess I like kind of came in like nervous and like questioning a lot of things. And then like, as I would meet with people, I'm like, that guy is no more special than like me. You know, that guy's not like this big special, like brainiac genius person who like created this, like same level as me. Then you meet with another person, same thing. You're like, a lot of these super successful people aren't even that special. They just happen to be in the right place at the right time.
They're even less special than you and I. Like, look, like some of the executives that I worked with, like, dude, they're just like hustlers, like who just figure out what it takes and then do it. It's not like people who are even that smart, like, or that hardworking or whatever. Like I think that's what that environment taught me too. Cause I would work with executives, like I was saying, like founders and stuff all the time, like businesses making like 300, like you're about to sell your business for like 500 mil.
Yeah.
And you're like talking to the CEO and he's just like some guy who's just like at his house, like with kids, you know, it's not like anyone special.
He pulls up in a Rolls Royce. You're like, oh my gosh, this guy was. And then he comes out and he's like kind of sloppy or something. And you're like, the hell?
Yeah, exactly. So I think it just makes it so much more like, I feel it's so much more attainable. And then you feel like you can truly do whatever. But
you need that abundance mindset, man. You can't sell yourself short. Yeah. But I want to change gears a little bit. I've watched the Somar ad twice today. And I've watched a bunch of your projects, Party Alone, like a lot of that stuff. I guess one thing when we met the first time that I was like, and we talked about this a little bit before the podcast, but like, I really appreciate like the visions and stuff that you're able to create. And earlier you're like, the clients and the projects I love the most are like when they're just like, we trust you, make it look dope. And I like those too, but I also feel a lot of pressure on those. Cause I'm like, how am I actually going to make this look crazy? You know, I feel like you truly get that, like, the reins, and you're like, I am so happy I have them because like you have all these ideas.
I'm like a very visual director, I think, which is like what I've learned. And I love experimenting and like finding new cool stuff and just like implementing it. But I also, like we were talking about earlier, like I watch, because I didn't go to like film school or anything. I feel like all film school, well, a lot of what film school is just like watching references, but it's like old stuff. It's like watching like the Titanic and like, why is it great? Or like watching like all the movies and like commercials and just like analyzing a lot of stuff. But a lot of it is just like references. And I think since I didn't go to film school, I feel like I have to learn in other ways and like also to understand like what the possibilities even are. Yeah. And because there's so many things you can do, especially in video. I feel like video is like truly you can do anything, especially with like VFX and stuff. Like literally the world is your oyster. And so I wanted to just like watch as much as I can, and I still do, to like find inspiration, but also just like figure out like what is possible. I don't know.
When you say watch as much as you can, are you talking movies? You talking
everything?
Yeah, just consuming.
Just like, yeah, like, but not
consuming
just like
might not be the right word.
Yeah, not just like passively watching necessarily, but more like watching with a purpose, I guess. Like analyzing kind of. Like I watched Iron Claw yesterday, which is a movie with like Zac Efron. It's about like him and his brothers as like a wrestler. And like I was watching the movie, but I'm also like, damn, that's a sick angle. Like how could I use that dolly pull out? Or like how did they get that shot like through the door? Or like I don't know. I was watching there's like a big Netflix movie that a lot of people are watching right now. It's like The World Is Ending or something like that.
Yeah.
But anyways, there's a shot that like starts on like a crane and like pushes through a door, and it's like, damn, like I really wonder like how they got that, or just like random stuff. And so I'm more intently watching, or like, oh, how's the performance? Like that was an interesting choice, whatever. Versus just like passively, and especially with commercial, I've like watched a ton of commercials because I get to learn a lot in a lot shorter time frame.
Yeah.
Commercials like a minute.
Yeah.
Whereas a movie you're watching for like 3 hours. So you could watch 50 commercials in the time that you'd watch one movie, and you can watch like 50 different directors and 50 different perspectives and 50 visual languages. And so I don't know, I just find myself watching a lot to like pull inspiration, but not even just new stuff, like old stuff too.
Yeah. But it's crazy because I feel like, I don't know, and maybe you're just getting inspired by different things than me, but I truly think like out of a lot, I follow a lot of creatives too, and I have for a long time. Like you truly kind of have like your own unique style too. Like it seems like you might get ideas, but you seem to put your own twist on it that allows you to, I don't know, at least stand out or look different. And I think that's something that we struggle with a little bit sometimes. It's like we're just doing project by project by project, and we're keeping it more or less the same. You know? Yeah,
I don't know. It's interesting to hear that you feel like I have a style, because I feel like when you you just never really pay attention to it, you know. But it's more just like an output of all the things that you think are cool. So then it's just like, oh, I think that's cool. I think that's cool. And then a lot of the things you think are cool are like similar in a way, I guess. But that's also why I love shooting on film. Like that's been one thing that I've like been very.
That's probably your style.
I've been very intentional about is shooting on film, because I want to be a director who gets to shoot with film like at the highest level, and I know they just don't let you do stuff if you've never done it before. And so like my entire portfolio, I'm trying to like, and it's just expensive. I'm tired of paying for it. So like one day I'll be able to just not have to pay for it, but then still get to shoot on film, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely more risky, like where I'm at the entry level. Cause I was talking to a DP on this thing I was shadowing for a commercial that was like multi-million-dollar budget. And I was talking to the DP for it, and she was like, oh yeah, we shot something on film. But the film loader like fucked up, and like the entire commercial like didn't, like it went, like all the film got messed up basically. You get it back from the lab and it's like all toast. It's like hundreds of thousands of dollars for a commercial.
And how do you tell like the client that?
But the thing that's different is they're in insurance. So like they have the entire production insured. So if that happens, then it's just like, oh, we just have to run it back. Like we just do it again.
Yeah.
But for me, like I'm not at that level yet. So it's like if I'm shooting something on film and it doesn't work, then it just doesn't work. You know, then you're just done. So it's like more of a risk in the sense. But yeah. That's
super interesting. Well, I mean, I guess I want to jump back to the Somar ad and just like, I guess walk through it, and I don't want to get too hung up on it, but the concept of it, like, and I like, for the viewer, I wish we could like watch it, but like it's like this long kind of tracking shot at the start. The camera spins. Like, are you, I guess like those specific things, like I think it's easy to be like, oh, that looks cool, but like, I don't know. I just feel like that's hard to conceptualize. Maybe not for you, but for me.
It was a little bit challenging. I made a previs for it on my phone, which was literally like when I was trying to explain to the DP what I wanted to do, he's like, I don't really know. Like, I don't get it. And so I was like, all right, cool. Like, and this is like in pre-production, like weeks before the shoot. But I like took my phone out and I was like, hey, like asked my girlfriend, like, hey, could you stand here? Like, hey, could you stand here? And I literally just did that same shot, but like there was none of those elements in it. But it was like I started at the ceiling and then I like walked it down. I was like walking backwards and I turned here, and then I had my girlfriend like kick my phone and then like spun it, and then I cut it in like DaVinci or whatever, just like quickly. But it was all shot on my phone, and so then I could show everyone on the set like, this is what I'm trying to do. And they're like,
that's what you mean by you're a visual director.
Like, it makes sense. Like, I get it. but even on set, dude, everyone's like, what the fuck are we doing? Like the
Yeah.
Steadicam op was like, so you want me to like literally just like whip the camera like a bunch of times in a circle? And I was like, yes. And he was like, okay, like, are you sure? And I was like, yes, that's exactly what I want.
That's crazy. Yeah. And I think, I don't know, there's just a level of that I think is hard to come by. Like I talk to a lot of people that, you know, they can make great videos, but like the level of complexity in that and all your projects, to be honest, that I've seen have just that level of complexity that's super, super cool and niche and unique. So
thank you. Yeah, I mean, it takes a lot of people too. Like I was saying, like the DP, like there's a shot in there where it's like the camera's like strapped to a shoe. And like we didn't know how to get that. But,
story
like,
cam.
Yeah, I think it was eventually like there's a dude, see, this is why I'm not a DP, because there's like so many different terms that I don't know. But it was like a magic arm, I think it was what it was. It was like a magic arm on like a sleeve or something where the camera's like pointed at his shoe. And like I had no idea how to do that. And if it wasn't for the DP, I probably wouldn't have been able to do that. And like like the Steadicam op was insane on that shoe. Like there's so many people that just are so talented that go into that kind of stuff. Like the colorist too, like the color grade on that video.
Yeah.
Avery's insane. Like there's so many things that just go into it.
That's true. I think that's really true. Like to really, and I don't know if we touched on this in the podcast or before, but really to make everything come together, you need a really, really good team around you.
Dude, and everything, because I'll talk to my brother about that a lot. Like, damn, like the colorist on that video snapped. And then it's like, well, yeah, but like, imagine if the DP was trash and like they didn't expose it correctly, or like look at the way that it was framed. And like, there's just like the set design is crazy, and like things that you don't even think about, or like the score, or like the sound design in a lot of like movies or like commercials is like so engaging. But a lot of times you like, if it's really, really good, you won't even think about it because you're just like so immersed in it. So yeah, there's just so many elements. And like if one is off, then it can just make the entire thing bad.
That's so true. Yeah. That's why this industry is not easy. I tell a lot of people that like, this is not easy. And like even yesterday, you know, we're shooting this thing in here and we're shooting on like a giant FX6 rig, and it's like the DP's pulling focus and like we can't really tell if he's hitting focus or not, you know, and like I'm not really getting playback. So like, you know, I'm like trying to be my role, which was like talent, but I'm also like, I want to see that and make sure it doesn't get like super soft. You know, it's like super dark in here and hard to pull focus and stuff like that.
It's like trust, dude. There's so much trust too that goes into it. Like, man, so much trust. Cause like, I mean, I've had shots that I really liked, and the first AC like doesn't hit on focus, and you're like, fuck. Like, I would have loved to use that take. The actor, like all the talent did really great. I love the movement, but it's just too soft, and you can't do anything about it, you know. And it's like such a bummer, but yeah, it happens. Like, it just is what it is. Yeah,
those elements are. That's a super good point. Cause I mean, you're one of those guys that posts on Instagram and it's like, DP, first AC, director, music, sound effects, like everything, lighting.
It's because I know that people can do it better than me. Like I just started paying people. That's like, I literally just was like, okay, I could color grade and get it to like 60%, but I could pay a colorist $1,000 and they would make it 100%, like as good as it can be. Or like, okay, I know I could get that shot in a way, but if I brought on a DP who is better than me, like my homie Zed, he also has a Bolex, and like I could probably shoot a lot of that stuff by myself, but I would be like super stressed and it wouldn't be as good. So I'm like, all right, let me just like pay him some of my rate, and then it'll be better, and then the client will think it's better, and then we'll get more stuff, and then it'll just like, so.
Is that where you're at? Like build the best of the best portfolio? Cause I think this is like good for someone listening that might just be going full time. And it's kind of interesting to think that you're just going full time, cause I feel like you're so far ahead of the game, but like, and maybe that's just because you do put that level of detail in every project and you're more like quality over quantity type.
Definitely quality over quantity. Yeah, for sure. Like this year I'm going to try to do more for sure. Cause last year I had a job. So like I'm like balancing 2 jobs, but like, I was putting together my director's reel for this year, and there's only like 5 projects maybe that I think are like worth having on my reel. And like, but I feel like I did a lot more than that, you know? So, but like, I don't know, definitely quality over quantity though. Like I hate quantity. Yeah. If you can do quantity at a sick quantity or quality. Yeah, at a sick quality, then for sure. Yeah. But I just hate sacrificing quality.
Mm-hmm. And especially like with the way you're set up, like kind of this like freelancer mode kind of thing. Cause like, I guess, you know, it's interesting. And that's why I love talking to you, because you give me a lot of perspective on things like this. But like for Bloom, right? It's like I said earlier, like some projects pay the bills and they will never see the light of day. No one will even know we're doing them.
It's like an internal company video or something.
Yeah, like an internal company video, or like something we shot for like a corporate client that just like doesn't really align with most of the stuff we shoot, but like we know we can still execute on it on a high level, and we give them exactly what they want. But like no one from the outside looking. Like a lot of our real estate projects are like that.
Yeah.
Like I don't really share the real estate we shoot, even though we've shot like.
Dude, I saw the story that you had though, where it's like a home being built and you guys are shooting it from like the ground up.
We've been tracking the whole thing, and it's like, I mean, that's like a $3 million house. And like, honestly, it's, I don't know if it's like connections, or we work with the largest home builder, or not the largest, just I would say the highest quality home builder in the state of Minnesota. And we shoot all their videos, and like, it's some of these houses we're in, it's like an island on Lake Minnetonka, and it's like $15 million house. And I'm like, how am I in this house?
Because my dad's in real estate too, so I'll come here and tour them. And
really?
Like, dude, yeah, some of those houses are wild. Dude.
And it's just like, it's funny because like we did real estate stuff, and now we really don't. Like we haven't done real estate since like our team was first hit 2 people, really, like, or at least marketed towards it. So it's kind of interesting, but like we'll still do it, and I know we can do it at a really high level, and it looks really, really clean.
Yeah. But I feel like it's a lot about like posting the work that you're doing in the vein of the stuff that you want to get more of.
Exactly.
Because if you post, like I was saying, I shoot a lot of social stuff right now because that's just where I'm at in my career. But I don't want to be doing social stuff. But if I post that I'm shooting social stuff, then people just perceive me as like someone who does social stuff. But like if I post like the Somar stuff or like other like high quality projects that I do that are like at the level of like TV commercials or whatever, then it'll look like, okay, he's like a commercial director, you know?
Yeah.
So I feel like you have to be super like intentional about this stuff. Like if you want to shoot like magazines and like cover stories, then you can't really be posting like landscapes because people will just start looking at you like a landscape photographer, you know? But
there's
like,
a lot of people that do too much of that.
Yeah. Or like a lot of people also just post everything, which is cool. But then it's like, what do you do? Like, at least to me, like I found a lot of, or like there's people who like, I'm a photographer, but I direct, and I'm also a DP, and I'm a colorist, and I do editing, and I do this. And then it's like, damn, like what would I hit you up for? You know? Yeah. Because like, how could you be the best at that one thing? Like what I was saying earlier, like you can't be the best at that one thing, I don't think.
No way. And that's, I just met with someone, and they told me, I said, where can I add you on our vendors list? And she said everything. And I was like,
yeah, that means nothing basically. That means like I can't add you for nothing.
I know. Like, what can I truly trust you with? You know? So I was like, I might have PA roles for you.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Like I'd have to like get in there. And I think finding people you trust is also tough.
For
like
sure.
Nowadays, like we had people come and shoot photos of our event and stuff. And like they were late, car problems, stuff like that, you know? And I'm like halfway through the event, I'm like, dude, am I going to pay this guy? Where is he? And then he showed up and he freaking went crazy and got it all. But
no,
I was like,
sure.
that's crazy.
Punctuality and like all that stuff is like so important. Even like email, like you were saying, like if I text someone and they respond like 2 days later every time, like I'm just not going to text you anymore.
Yeah.
So all that little stuff I think ends up mattering a lot more than you necessarily think.
Well, I think maybe it's kind of interesting because I came from the real estate world. You came from like the financial world. I think like that, like type A, being around like type A people, like very like punctual, very like ladder, like system based stuff.
Yeah.
Helps us get perspective on like how to actually like succeed in the creative world. I think so many creatives are great with a camera, but they just really struggle
on the business
on a lot
side.
of like just generic, like such rudimentary stuff. Like they can't organize an email, or they can't like
communicate an idea. Like that stuff is like so important.
Yeah. And you need to have like those kind of like hard skills. Yeah. You know, those like, I don't know if they're soft skills or hard skills, but like whatever that skill is, that's just like the snappiness, the understanding the business.
Like the sense of urgency, I think. I don't know, at least for me, like I always have a sense of urgency.
And you could still be laid back and have a sense of urgency.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, I would consider myself super chill and like laid back for sure. But yeah, definitely having like, I don't know. Everyone has their own approach to stuff too that really works. I think I just have like a very like business forward approach because that's just like the world that I come from.
Well, and it's like, why do you do this? You know, some people like they just want to shoot great landscape photos and post them, and that's great. Yeah. And like some people are trying to like build a career on this and like do this like for the rest of their life. Yeah.
Like I want to be the best best commercial director in the world. Like if that's like my goal. Like I want to direct a Super Bowl commercial. You know, and like you have to like have such a grind to do that. Like you can't just like stumble in that, you know. And
you have to like be passionate about it too. Like you wouldn't say that if you didn't truly like live and breathe and think about it every single day. Yeah. Like I think it's Steve Jobs has a quote where it's like, if I wasn't passionate about this, I would have given up a long time ago. Yeah. Like you have to be passionate, otherwise you're just gonna give up. Yeah. No way you're gonna fight through the hard times.
Yeah, dude, because everything is hard. Like at the highest level, everything is hard. Like starting a business sucks. Like trying to get to the top of anything is so hard that there's so many times you just be like, honestly, dude, like I don't know if I really need this. You know?
I know, dude. I still have crossroads like that with my life. You know, I think it was like, and it's funny because you're like on the start of this journey a little bit, but like when I first went full time, it was like hard.
What'd you do before?
I was in real estate. I was just working at a real estate company going to college. I started Bloom and went full time before I graduated college.
Crazy.
So it was kind of just like job throughout college. But anyways, like I remember like it was really hard for the first 6 months and then like 6, 7, 8 months. And then it got really, really easy. And I remember I was like, this is so easy. Like I just come out, create videos, and I was just shooting like Nat Light, like handheld gimbal shit, just like going, just pumping videos and making more money than I ever had, you know? So I was really excited about that. And then like I started building a team and like got a studio and like the expenses went up and then like it got a lot harder. And honestly, I've been doing like business owner, full blown business owner role for like a year and maybe 3 months. And it is hard. Like it is still hard. Like it's getting easier. I can feel it letting up a little bit. It's not as hard as it once was, but like you hit those like hurdles. Like
it's like growing pains.
It's growing pains. I could have stayed in the easy path, you know, 8 months in, I could just,
like a single person
I could still be freelancing.
Yeah. Single person shooter, like making good money, whatever.
But I couldn't make dope stuff.
Yeah.
Like it's hard to like, without a team, like you said, like it's hard for me to just like pull up and just shoot like cool videos and edit them all the time. It's like not sustainable.
And also like, I always look at it like, you're not going to buy a house necessarily doing that. You know, like you could pull up and be a single person shooter and like, that's dope. And if you love doing that, like all for you. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if you're going to buy like $1 million. And like everyone's goals are different, you know, but I'll be like, damn, like I don't know if I can buy like a $2 million house shooting social stuff. You know? Yeah. Like that's why I feel like part of me is like, damn, okay, like I know where I want to go. Like I'm trying to buy a house in LA one day. Like I'm going to have to like, you got to like level up to do that. You know?
Yeah. And I mean, like everyone has different goals too, you know, like I think like you have, like you and I probably have similar goals that are like very ambitious and high, and like we're going to do everything it takes to get there. And then you have people where like they know they can't set super high goals because if they do, they know they're going to just like crack, or like they know it's good. They're going to put like too much pressure on themselves,
or scared of the failure. Like knowing like, damn, I set a goal and I didn't reach it. Even though like if you do that, you're probably still like 50% closer to that goal than you would have been if you didn't set it.
Yeah. But, like, or you met some people along the way.
Yeah. But you still have that thing in your head that's like, damn, I failed. Kind of.
Yeah. But if Bloom collapsed tomorrow, I would still call it a success.
For sure.
I'd be like, look at all these people I met. Like, and then I would be like, damn, we did. Like, I can probably go to like any agency, a pretty solid agency and get like a decent job and be like, 100%. This is my background. Or like a product company and like run their like marketing department or something like that. Like I feel like it's still building my resume, you know, even 100%. If I'm like starting my own business.
What are the biggest like production companies in Minnesota? Like who do you see as like the biggest competition in a way?
That's really hard. I mean, Minnesota's like actually kind of a hub for sports productions. There's one, actually, I love telling this story. He used to office in this office, Triglass Productions. They do like, Triglass Productions does some of the most insane editing and sports productions you've ever seen. Like Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Seattle Seahawks, like next level stuff. And there's another one, I think it starts with a P. I don't know exactly what it's called, but it starts with a P, and they're like very, very high up. Like, insane. And he came in once. I had some of his mail and I like called him.
Yeah.
And I was like, yo, I got your mail. I was like, now I'll finally get to meet this guy. And he came in and we chit chatted for like 30 minutes. He's a super cool guy.
Is he old?
Not really. I want to say he's like probably like early mid 30s.
Okay.
But he's been doing it for a long time. He actually was like, I installed these lights and like
No way.
telling me all about this stuff.
Yeah.
And he just gave me some like good wisdom, you know. He's
That's
like,
dope. It's cool that people are like open to help in that way.
yeah.
There's like some people might come and be like, oh, like, fuck this kid. Like, I'm not gonna like tell him anything. Like, I'm just gonna like see what he has going on and then like bounce.
Yeah. No, he was super cool. And like, that's what I'm trying to think. Like, biggest production companies, I don't really know. I think a lot of it's like strongholded by like the agencies too. Like a lot of agencies like do video work or can piece stuff together. But like Minnesota's not a super competitive market where like I would throw us in the hat of like the people that can do anything. Like, you know, like if you're going to call, you know, any production company in Minnesota, you could call Bloom and we'd probably get you a similar product.
Yeah, for sure.
So, but it's like why I say like Triglass and the other company, I got blanking on their name, but those companies are like the pinnacle where it's like, I could not, like you could give me $1 million, $5 million budget, whatever they get, and I probably would still not be able to come up with the same like level of, I mean, so much CGI and like the level of editors. I mean, I bet they have like 8 editors there doing like
just grinding,
really, really intense stuff. He has this thing. It's called like behind the edit or something. I forget, but he like breaks down like how they like did all the stuff, and it's super, super insane.
Have you ever heard of Step Studios?
Step Studios, yes, I have.
Yeah, they are also, it reminds me of what you're talking about. Like they are also like a big commercial production company. They do a lot of stuff with like in the sports world with like North Face and like Oakley and stuff. They did an Oakley commercial with who's the quarterback for the Chiefs?
Pat Mahomes.
Yeah. They did a Pat Mahomes like Oakley commercial where they had like the camera like behind the headset. It was like a POV commercial where he would like take a snap and like roll out and like throw. It was like, dude, that shit is crazy. But it's like a bunch of CGI and like also like in the sports world. It reminds me of that. So I feel like you'd like, but you've heard of them already, which doesn't surprise me.
Step Studios, dude, they're on like my vision board.
Yeah.
And then they are, I want to say is it Locked Editorial?
Yep.
Is that a partner company of theirs?
Yeah. So
they specialize in movement or something?
Yeah, they do all of like they do all the post stuff. Like I think they do all the post stuff. They also have like a rental spot, but
yeah,
crazy.
That's
stuff.
super high end. Like
that's like $1 million, like $2 million budgets, like the big, like the highest level basically.
And I mean, obviously that's like a level everyone wants to get to, but I always wonder like, is that level like more volatile, right? Like
for sure.
Like I just think that like if like a huge recession came or something, like those are the companies that are gonna feel it hardcore.
Dude, last year,
because it's just like Oakley's not gonna be dropping $5 million on it.
Well, even now, like budgets are getting smaller because like a lot of stuff is like, why is there so much fat? Like there's just a lot of like people involved. Like, do we need 20 PAs? Or do we need 10? Or like, do we need like a third AC? Like I don't know. Like, but yeah, I mean, a lot of people last year, like at that level, who are doing big stuff, like directors and photographers and stuff, were like really, really slow. Because the economy is like pretty slow. But like for me, since I was doing smaller stuff, like I was getting a lot of smaller stuff that like added up to be something. Whereas like they're working on like 5 projects a year. You make $50K a project. Yeah. Like those were the ones that were like slowing down for sure. I think it's picking back up, but yeah, it's way more volatile. Cause like you make 50 and then you have like 2 months where you make 0 and then you make another 50, you know? Whereas like, or you could just make like 20, 20, 20.
Yeah. If you're in like the top 25 percentile, like, the top 5 when those budgets get slashed, you get the trickle down kind of, right? Exactly. Like you get the Oakley commercial that's like $1 million, you know, and like it's still dope for you.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, a lot of people were really, really slow last year at like the highest level. I think because the economy was just slow and like marketing budgets were getting smaller.
Well, there's just like whenever there's like hesitation and like maybe the economy's not even slow, but maybe they're forecasting things or whatever it may be. And then there's a little hesitation, then they just pull the marketing budget back a little bit.
And
like
that's the first
maybe
thing
let's push this big production off.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's usually the first thing.
Well, that's the first thing they can pull, I feel like, because that's like the thing they have the most control of. Because like as a CFO, like you can't like slash your headcount necessarily 50%. Like you can't just cut your rent 50% in a day, like off a decision. Cause like you still need people, you still have to work somewhere, but like there might be a way where a world where you can be like, all right, well, can we still get the same output in sales on like 30% less marketing spend? You know? And I think, and you have very complete control of like how much you're spending on marketing. It's like the lever, at least in a lot of the businesses that I've done. So yeah, it's definitely tough.
It is super tough. It's interesting, but I also think like brands that truly care about brand image and care about like Dodge Ram might cut their marketing budget and like whatever, but like
Nike still got to spend.
Like, Nike still got to spend. Like they have a brand, and like North Face, like Patagonia, like those companies have like a level of like polishedness in their marketing, and like that's part of like everything they do, and like their narrative and their story is such a big part of what they do. Where it's like,
well, yeah, I mean, and not even just like marketing spend, but like TV and like big productions, because like. Even at Hims, like we came up off of like social media, like D2C type marketing. Like if you go look at our Instagram, it doesn't look crazy. Like there's like a bunch of people like holding a phone, like taking selfie videos and stuff. There's like some cool stuff sprinkled in, and we do like big activations too, but like it's more recently that they've been like, okay, well, if we want to build like a true like long brand with longevity, like you have to have like big spots. Like you have to be on TV. Like you have to. Like we did a lot of like NBA advertisements like during the finals and stuff last year. Like you have to kind of like do some of that stuff and like mix it in. Yeah. To like truly have like a real brand that stands the test of time.
Test of time is the biggest thing. And they're even doing stuff like I follow like Jeff Wittick. He's like I don't know, he's like an LA guy. He's like a influencer, and he like signed with Hims, and he's like creating like content, cutting hair on their on their
we have like a barbershops like thing with him on YouTube, I think.
Yeah, dude, and he's like he's always cut hair, and like he's like kind of a funny guy, like personality, and the set looks crazy on that dude. Yeah, dude. Like the set looks really, really nice.
They do some like I mean, I see all the financials, like they definitely do big productions for sure. But yeah, they just do things at all levels, but we're just starting to do more of the stuff that's like bigger.
Well, and that's a brand that's growing so fast, right? It's like their hand is just like on in Instagram, and then they got to be on TikTok. Then they're like doing the Final Four. Then they're doing Jeff's Barbershop and YouTube. And it's just like sometimes you just have so much stuff going. It takes a little bit to like get a grasp on what's working.
But that's what's good for us too, as like creatives. Like there's so many brands and there's so much media now that it's like, if you're a brand, you want to start a brand, like you have to be on Instagram. You have to have ads. You have to do social. So like there's a need for so much like marketing. Yeah. Basically. And like I hate the word content. Like I absolutely hate that word. But I mean, you need a lot of like output if you want to be relevant, because there's just so much noise. Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like it used to be about quantity of content, like being consistent and posting every single day. And now I feel like it's a little bit of, it's changing where it's like, okay, posting every single day won't get you anywhere if the posts are all horrible. Like if you're providing no value, like no entertainment, no educational value, then like stop posting every day. Like don't, like I feel like realtors are like the number one people I follow where it's like, it's just like a picture of a house, like just sold, picture of a house, just sold, picture. And it's like, why am I following this? You know, there's like, what's the reason behind it? So I always just try to ask myself that question before we do a project with a company. It's like what's the goal? Like, what do you want? Yeah. Like, and what is the purpose of this? You know, like I'm not in the business of like creating like 30 graphic animations that mean nothing to anyone and then like scheduling them on your Instagram. Yeah. Like I just hate that. Yeah. It's like, what are you going to hit me with a graphic every day? Yeah. That's why, like you said earlier, I just like, dude, I post like once every couple months. Yeah. It's crazy. But like, yeah, unless I like a lot of stuff, but like, yeah, a lot of times, like over the course of last year, I probably posted like 12 times. Well, and it's like, what's the format though? Like you could post like bullshit on your story that doesn't really mean anything to anyone. Like just a picture of like a building or something throughout your day. And like, that's perfect. So, yeah, but I much rather like, at least the people who I like a lot of the directors and photographers are also like that. And that like, I don't need something from you every day. Just give me something that's like real. Like when you do post though, like I want to see that. Like I want to see it be really good. But yeah, I'd rather see like super fire every couple months versus just like, like every day.
100%. Yeah.
But that's just me.
I would agree. I think the internet's going that way. But Keaton, I think we've been talking for like an hour and a half, maybe.
Holy shit. Dude, last question though. What do you guys have up for the year?
What do we have
like
up
what,
for
what
the
is, what are your 24 like goals, like plans? Like what are you striving for this year for Bloom?
Well, I would say 2023 was a massive year for us, just in terms of like, I feel like our team got really dialed in. The projects we got made a ton of more sense. We're getting the projects we want. I think now, like, we're working with the products, right? We always wanted to work with products, and now we're working with products, and now it's just like, how can we push the envelope and make better, bigger, more like polished content with these brands. So I guess that's one of our goals. Another one of our goals is just to enjoy the process more. Like, I think last year we said yes to a lot, which was great for financial stability, and the brand, and like growing so fast and buying all this gear and stuff. And now it's like, I want to be more intentional with like the stuff we take. And just like, I don't know. It's just, I feel like last year we did a lot of things for money because we needed money, and now we don't need money as bad as we used to, because we have a lot of the stuff we need to make stuff cool. So I think it's a little bit less chasing the money and a little bit more like chasing like really, really good projects, and not just saying yes, just say yes.
Fire. I feel that.
How about you? What do you got on the docket?
Similar, kind of. Yeah, like when I was trying to just build, it's like just take every job. And now I'm much more like, does it make sense for what I'm trying to do? Stop editing. That's also a goal. Like, I'd love to not have to edit more than like a couple of projects. I want to direct a music video. I think that'd be really interesting.
Nice.
But yeah, more of the same and just continue to grow. I've never been a huge goal person, which is interesting. Like, I know I have like overarching like where I'm trying to go, but they always like, oh, you need to write your goals down like every year, But I've never been that kind of person. I don't know.
I find that I have a business coach, and when we sit down and come up with goals and write them down, I actually hit them. I find, but last year I didn't do it. So like 2 years ago I did, and I was like, I'm going to hit 70 Google reviews, Like I had one of my goals. I loved it. And I did a really poor job at this one, but it was like send 2 like compassionate messages a week. Just general, just like reaching out to people, just like, hey man, like I actually was thinking about you here, like whatever. And I just thought that was like kind of an interesting thing. So I kind of believe in goals, even though I don't always follow through with them. Yeah. Like, I know what you mean though, because like I'm not a big like resolution guy, or like think I'm gonna flip a switch overnight and like.
Yeah. Resolutions are always funny because it's like, why don't you just start now? You know. Yeah. But yeah, I've never been the person to like write a lot of goals down, but I think maybe it's just because I keep all this shit in my head, and I know that I don't need that like motivation every day to like do the work.
That's
just
true.
Fine just doing the work as it is.
That's true. The motivation is, I think what I like about when I have a goal, like with the Google reviews, for instance, it was like, I would let my client know, like, hey, one of our goals this year is to hit 70 Google reviews. Can you help us get like one step closer?
Yeah.
You know, and like they're kind of like invested in your goals then too. Like you put it in writing for them, and then they're like,
and it takes them like 5 minutes, and they know like means a lot to you and stuff.
Yeah. So I think like if you can write goals and utilize the goals in writing to kind of get other people activated on them, sometimes you can really, you can really like move the needle. But I think that's basically it, dude. Where can the people find you?
Oh yeah. Instagram at Keaton, KEATONGRENE_. That's basically it. Like, I don't have a Twitter. I definitely don't go on Snapchat.
What about you and the girlfriend's YouTube channel?
Dude, no, I don't. I mean, if you want to see like early days, like first videos I ever made, I don't know what our YouTube handle is anymore, but if you search my name in YouTube, you might be able to find it. And you can probably see like some of the early like influences, like style and stuff like that. So that could be interesting.
That's super cool.
But that's like stuff that no one's ever seen. Like, I would never show anyone that. But if you find it, good for you. There's some fire videos though. Like, I remember I made a vlog one time when we went to New York. We were like, took like a helicopter like ride over New York City. And like a lot of times I would just be doing shit just so I could get the shot. So I'd be like, oh yeah, let's go on like a helicopter ride. And, like I'm not even like looking at anything except my computer or my camera the whole time. But then like the video's fire. Yeah. So, but yeah.
That's sick, dude.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on.
Dude, of course. Literally, like this was one of those I was really excited about, and this is the second episode of season 2, and we're basically just gonna be doing like one podcast a month this year. I just want to do it just to keep in touch with people, and do a bunch of stuff. And who knows? I say one podcast a month might change. I might end up doing like 1.5 a month.
Dude, yeah, we'll have to come back in like 2026 or something and like do round 2 of this, and like we can touch base and see where both of us are at. So I'm sure it'll be a crazy different spot than we are today.
So much different. I mean, I started Bloom like 3.5 years ago. So it's like crazy to just be like the last 3.5 years, like 3.5 years from now would be like crazy. And like even it was like giving me chills. Like when you're like, I want to be the biggest commercial director. Like I was like literally thinking in my head, like one day I'm going to look back at this podcast and be like, that's me and Keaton Greene.
Yeah.
Like,
well, no, same, dude. Well, I was asking like, what's the biggest production company in Minnesota? Like one day that'll be Bloom, you know?
Yeah. I think that's the goal. So.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll catch you on the next one.